Liverpool Community Podcast. I'm your host, Chase Johnson Lynch. And as you know, I'm often talking to people within the community that I find very interesting, and I hope that you will find this interesting as well. And today, I got somebody, the British Empire Medal receiver, and her name is Jayne Hughes. How you doing, Jayne?
I'm good, thank you.
Now, Jayne, you gotta understand, because I'm American, I probably said it all wrong. But I know you call it BEM, the
Yeah.
British Empire Medal, which is a high esteem award to be received, and I believe it's from King Charles himself, isn't it?
Yep.
And everything, but it's for DNA repair disorder. Can you explain the full title of that, please?
Yeah, so it's to help, well, I help children and families that have rare DNA repair disorders. And I was put forward by doctors and families for this award, which was a real surprise.
Well, no, exactly. But first of all, your story is amazing, and we're going to go into that. Um, but to first of all let people know that you're the founder of an organization called Amyandfriends and everything, because for you, Amy is very important and special to you. So, can you tell us about Amy, please?
Yeah, Amy was our first child, and she was born very prematurely. She was only £2.11 when she was born at 28 weeks. And to begin with, we couldn't tell that there was issues with Amy, but she didn't want to feed, and she didn't seem to be putting any weight on, and so I was backwards and forwards to my GP with her saying, I think there's something the matter here. But I didn't have anything to refer to because she was our first child. And she seemed to be quite strong in her ways. And the GP initially was saying, she is small, but she was premature, she'll catch up. But she didn't catch up.
No.
And as she grew very slowly, and she looked like a little pixie. With a little pointy chin, and as I say, wasn't put weight on. So we were sent to a geneticist eventually.
Now, the thing about this is I myself am a parent, and I'm pretty sure other parents, it's one of our worst fears. Something's wrong with our child, and we take it to the GP, and we want answers, but we'll often find the power of a mother's. You can't tell me no, because I know something's wrong. You went to the internet. Right, and you found. What is it? It took you what did it? 5 years. It took you some time. Tell me about that. What you found on the internet.
Okay, so it was 5 years of continually researching online and going to the major libraries.
She was 5 years old, though.
She was 5 years old when I found it on the internet. So she had a small head. Her head had stopped growing. And as I said, she did look like a little pixie. And when I put the combination of small stature, microcephaly, which is small head, low weight in, I eventually found something called Cockayne syndrome. And when I looked at the pictures of the children with it, they were identical to Amy. So I took the pictures with me to all of the medical appointments that we had, and people were at those appointments were saying I was an over-anxious mother.
And because they didn't know about this, what was going on.
Well, no, a geneticist had said to me, she probably has got something rare. We'll call it Amy syndrome. Go home and get on with it. But I couldn't. I wanted to know what was going wrong and if I could have helped put anything right. And I was never going to give up. And I knew that if she had a short life, and I suspected she would, that I would look back and think I couldn't have done any more. And I can honestly say I couldn't have done any more.
Now, you mentioned Cockayne syndrome. Now, when the GPs didn't know or didn't know what was going on, whatever, blah, 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 you managed to find there was an actual doctor in 1932 who kind of prescribed or started to notice this particular type of disorder or an illness, isn't it?
Yeah, so his name is Edward Alfred Cockayne, and he's the person who the illness is named after, because he found, what the issue was, that it was a genetic condition, and where the mutation was on this person's gene. So it's got to be both parents have to carry a mutation on the gene, and the child genetically inherits it.
But it also has to do with UV radiation, doesn't it? Like, now, what parent doesn't take a kid out in the sun, right? To the beach or just to the park, whatever, right? Isn't it true?
Yeah.
So, but this is where this syndrome or this condition, the sun can cause more damage than one obviously thinks. We always thinking about the sun giving life, but
Yeah.
and wasn't it? It took another doctor, like in the 80s, I believe you said, an Alan Lehman, to figure this out or to test for it. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so Alan Lehman does the testing on skin samples, and he developed the test around 40 years ago. And science has moved on from there now. So there are different ways of diagnosing now. But as you said, 75% of the children are affected by UV sensitivity. So even if the sun's not out, but UV is coming through the clouds, this is a good way of children being diagnosed, because they burn very easily. 75% of them do. So somebody may have had their child in a car seat inside the car. It's not even sunny, but UV light shining through the window.
Exactly.
And when they've got the child home, the child's face is blistered. And then they're taking them to the GP there, and then it may be that they're looking at, okay, well, there's a UV issue here. What is this? And
Or
that in a
put that soda cream on
put
them.
cream
or,
on. Yeah. So the cream that the children need to put on with this condition is 100 factor.
Wow.
And they have to keep putting it on continually. So the sun is damaging their DNA, and the DNA can't repair itself like
And this
ours.
is not like eczema or anything like that, because there are kids who have eczema.
Yeah.
I mean, because what we're talking about is like different forms of skin disease, but it's like, imagine, this blows my mind about how, like, something like the sun can cause this much damage.
Yeah.
So now basically you've been advocating for somebody to listen to you for ages. It felt like, I'm probably sure. I mean, I think you said since 2010.
Well, since Amy was born, I've been waiting for somebody to advocate for me.
Exactly. But I was getting to, like, so finally, come 2019.
Yeah.
Finally, I mean, which is past Amy's passing, unfortunately.
Well, Amy passed away in 2020.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Oh no, that she was the first one. So tell us about
clinic.
Yeah, please.
So I was invited to speak in 2009 at the Houses of Parliament on Rare Disease Day, and at that time we didn't have a clinician doctor in the UK that had a specific interest in Amy's illness or DNA repair disorders. So when I spoke, I said, I'm just a mum who's got Amy and has met other children now with this condition. And there isn't anything in the UK that can help the children, and there's no cure. There's only, a small amount of treatments that are palliative that can ease the children's, issues as they're going along. And I said there at the Houses of Parliament, if anyone can help, please come forward, and let's not let any more children die from this illness. So I had a bit of a queue, which was great. And one of the people in the queue, the first person, was a Dr. Shala Mohammed, who is based at Guy's and St Thomas NHS Foundation Trust, which is across the water from Parliament. And she said, I'm going to try and help you. And she did. So for 10 years, she bombarded, and she won't mind me saying that, the NHS, and I helped try and get as much information together as I could, followed families, tried to work out in monetary terms how much it was costing the NHS for the continual appointments that these families were having and weren't really getting anywhere. And after 10 years, in 2019, she called me and said, we've got a clinic, a specialist clinic.
Wow.
And, you know, I remember where I was. I was driving up to my house. I took the hands-free call and thought, I've got to pull over here because this is massive. And if I die, actually, this work continues, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So the clinic was formed in 2019 and my Amy was the first one through the door. Sadly, she didn't benefit really from clinic because, as you said, you know, she died in 2020. But she started this, didn't she? And now 10 children go a month with their families to the clinic. We go to every single appointment that they go to. We organise the appointments from our end with transport and accommodation the night before, and clinic have that appointment for them the next day. And they're seen by clinicians that specialise in neurology, ophthalmology, everything from the top of the head down to the bottom of the feet with the children, because everything goes wrong. Sadly, every cell in their body is affected.
Wow.
So the children can be born with cataracts or develop them, so they'll lose their sight, they lose their hearing, they'll lose their swallow, they lose their mobility. If they could speak, they lose their speech. You know,
also mentioned osteoporosis, which
they
bone.
everything is affected, and the children are aging rapidly. So it's been great having clinic because the specialists that are there now are writing medical papers, and we're helping write medical papers based on all of the families that we found. So we've got a clinic not only in London, but actually now we've got a clinic in the Netherlands as well, in Erasmus. And then doctors and scientists have come from India, Japan, all over the world, and seen the blueprint of our clinic and are taking it back to their own countries now. And it works very well, and it also saves the NHS money.
Yeah. And it also now it probably puts it more on the forefront on their like computers now, as opposed to them having to do some extensive research, you know, like the GPs, whatever, you know, to be able to diagnose quicker or and faster. And
I think that's down to the GP, if I'm very honest, still.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to be nice.
Okay. Well, if you've got a nice GP, you'll get a diagnosis quicker. Let's say that.
Okay. You know, but what also is like the thing is that which is like crazy is that the whole form of protection scenario. When I was listening to your story, it made me think of like an old film called The Boy in the Plastic Bubble.
Yeah.
You know, with John Travolta and everything like that. And if my man Phil was here, I keep calling out Phil when he's not here. But if my man Phil was here, he'd be like, nobody knows what they're talking about. But then you did, though.
I knew exactly what you were talking about.
You knew exactly what I was talking about. See, there's always someone.
Yeah, there's always someone.
Someone's in my brain.
Let me tell you also, Lorenzo's oil that springs to mind.
Oh, yes, that's right. Lorenzo's oil,
Benjamin Button springs to mind. All of those.
Yeah, exactly.
And these stories do need telling because they're based on fact.
Yeah, no, exactly. But then also, too, is that it also helps, like, the next parent to understand faster or more that, like, they are not alone.
Yeah.
Which is what your organization is all about. Like, so, when you talk about the respite.
Yeah.
And the importance of respite.
Yeah. I was very alone. We were very alone because Amy'd never seen anybody that looked like her. We hadn't. If we went out into society, people were looking at us and saying, what's wrong with her? And we didn't know. We couldn't say, she's got this, because we didn't know. And so we didn't fit in anywhere. And that's what families say. And I asked on our private forum the other day, what do you get from meeting other families? And it is building of confidence, friends, somebody that actually knows how you feel. There's a poem out there that's called Holland, and it's that you have booked a holiday to Italy, you've learnt all about Italy, you go on your flight and you arrive in Holland, you can't speak that language, nobody really looks like you, that's this journey. And that's not just for this illness, that's for every illness that is rare and you haven't got a name for, or you get a name for and there's no support group for. You're so isolated. So we can help with that, whether it's this illness or another illness, we'll help. You know, it is awful being on your own, and there is what's the saying? People are herd in numbers, aren't they? So you know, if you just one out on your own, you're not so herd. If there's a number of you, you are, and it's true.
No, but also it's important to be able to have like that time for yourself, like as I was just saying about the respite that you guys offer, you know, like for parents and families that need like those occasional moments. I mean, as you said, there's 365 days in a year and everything. So, you know, you also involved in having fundraising events. And everything, you know, you have a couple like coming up and everything. But also you're not opposed to other people like say, hey, you know, like I really want to get behind this, and like we'll sponsor an event for you.
I mean, that would be amazing, wouldn't it? So we're always looking for volunteers. We're always looking for people that will support us. You know. And we've got a couple of things coming up. If people wanted to organise zip wire, jumping out of a plane, bike rides, absolutely anything, you know, cake sales, anything. I mentioned to you that the children don't sleep very well. So can you imagine it? Yeah, it's 365 days a year. And some of the kids go to hospice. So, you know, usually hospice will offer about 12 nights a year respite. There's all the rest of the year, and so we offer respite to families, and sometimes it's volunteers that go. They'll have a cup of coffee with a parent and just talk to them, or go and get the shopping. That's amazing. That's huge. If somebody bought me a cup of coffee and said, tell me your story, I would have loved that. I would have loved it. Somebody just to hold your hand. So fundraising is massive for us, yes, please. But also, you know, just be kind. And if you see something where somebody's struggling, you can tell. You can tell if somebody's struggling. You know, don't be shy. Come forward and say, can I help in some way?
Yeah. Well, no, I think also, too, I think it's just also like you just said, it's like when you said about being kind, I mean, like everybody has different situations, and to be more understanding of that. So when I say how can people find you, I kind of said it before, but how can people find you?
Find us on social media, Amyandfriends, or find us on our website, www.amyandfriends.org. You know, drop us a line, send us a message. We've got a YouTube channel that is out there, Amy and Friends Worldwide. We're in the middle of making a documentary.
Oh,
I had a meeting just before I met you about that. So tell your story, you know, and listen to people. It's really important.
Well, it has been a very fascinating story, and I would just thank you for sharing your story with us and our audience here today, Jayne. And like I said, if you want to help, you know, you can in the simplest of ways and everything, and helping people doing the simplest of things and stuff like that. So I'd like to thank my guest, Jayne Hughes, British Empire medal winner.
Yay!
Yeah, you know what I mean? And stuff. And me, Chase Johnson Lynch, I'm just a simple guy doing a simple thing with a simple mind.
Me too. I'm just a mum.
Well, whatever, you know, there we go. We're just people and everything. And for now, we out of here.
Get out of here.